Alright, it's story time. Who's down for story time? Well, tough shit. I'm gonna tell you anyway. This was me as a little boy with what I'll call my first love, my dog Brandy. And it was my job to keep that dog alive, quite literally. If mom wasn't telling me how stupid she thought I was, or how worthless I was, that I was a waste of human flesh and she wished I was never born, my sister would be picking up random household items and chasing me around the house with them and beating me however she could, whenever she could. And on particularly bad days, she'd grab a kitchen knife out of the butcher block. It's one thing to be chased around the house with a knife as a 7 or 8 year old kid with a knife like this. That would be scary enough. But that wasn't her knives of choice. They were knives like this. And she would swing it around back and forth like some crazy person in a slasher movie. And early on, after the dog showed up, see, I got her when she was just a puppy. I was told by my sister that if I ever told what went on in the house, that she'd kill my dog. And I had every reason to believe her because she had tried to kill me on more than one occasion. Most of you should thank your lucky stars that you've never had to experience that kind of terror on a daily basis, knowing that each day could be your last through no fault of your own. Who cares about school when you're told how stupid you are on a regular basis? Who's that too concerned with getting involved with sports and taking it seriously when you come to the realization that each day could be your last? Well, time went on, and I took my abuse and my beatings all from my dog, who I loved dearly and was willing to sacrifice pieces of myself on a daily basis in order that she could survive. Because in my mind at that time, if I wouldn't have, she would be gone. And that was completely unacceptable to me. And I was willing to put up with anything in order for that not to happen. I'm not going to say that I became immune to the pain, but I got pretty damn good at taking it. As a matter of fact, I suppose I can make a confession. In some ways, I kind of liked it. Those situations, I never felt more alive than having to battle for my life, if that makes any sense. As a matter of fact, I became kind of an adrenaline junkie. I've done a lot of dangerous shit in my life in the name of fun. And even to this day, the only time I really feel alive is when it's all on the line and my life hangs in the balance. Well, eventually, I grew up. And one day it came down to a knockdown drag out with my sister, and I put her life on the line. And that was the end of that shit. Some years later, I asked her what was behind all of that. And she looked me right in the eye and she said, I only did those things to you because you let me. Excuse me? I didn't buy that shit for 1 minute. But I blew it off, even though it caused a serious rift between me and my sister, which never ended. She still feels as if she has the right to say and treat people in particular, especially me, however she likes. So we don't talk anymore. So I decided to go to my mother, who was also part of the equation with the horrible things that she would say. And she looked me right in the eye and she said, I don't remember saying those things to you. Which was just as bad. She might as well have said that every one of them all over again, all at one time, when she said that, because that, for me, made it happen all over again. These two people who had at one time or another in my life said that they loved me, yet proved the opposite, weren't even willing to own up to their own behavior. Turns out they were protecting someone else. Why? To this day, I still have no idea. How somebody who could cause that kind of stress in their life deserves that kind of loyalty is beyond my comprehension. But they, as individuals, made the personal choice to act that way because I wasn't that guy. I hadn't done any of the terrible things that they had experienced, yet they felt as if they had the right to take it out on me. So why did I tell this story? Because it has a lot of parallels to the times that we're living in today. There are people out there who are beating up our rights and our freedoms every day, even though, for the most part, the rest of us are just innocent bystanders. We didn't do anything. We're just out here living our lives. And their excuse would quite literally be because we let them. At first, it wasn't so bad. It was just the little things. But eventually, as people became more passive and didn't say anything about it, they became more bold, leading to where we are today. Literally on the edge of what could be a knockdown, drag out fight that puts all of our lives at risk. And my assumption is that most people out there aren't like me. That's not the world they came from. And certainly isn't a world that they've had to exist in for any long period of time, if they've experienced it at all. But we're all going to, if we're willing to put up with the encroachments on our freedom and restrictions on our liberties, because we're not willing to say anything, because either fear or trying to protect a social media platform, which actually in the real world means absolutely nothing, or some religious belief that tells us that we should forgive everyone of everything. So I'll tell you what I know, what I had to learn the hard way. If you're willing to put up with that shit, all you're going to do is get more shit. If you're not willing to speak out against it at this point, you're going to have to fight for it at some point. Take care.